Welcome to Just Start, Get Visible, your go-to resource of the journey to becoming more visible in a way that feels right for you. Welcome back to yet another episode of Just Start, Get Visible. It's Jacqueline here, and I am thrilled about today's conversation. You all know I usually say I'm so excited about today's conversation, but I hit you with something different today. I am thrilled about today's conversation because we have a fantastic guest. This month, we're talking all about visibility that feels aligned because, of course, I'm always trying to encourage you to just start and get visible in a way that feels right for you, but it needs to feel aligned. And I can't think of a whole lot of people who I feel like are the perfect fit for this conversation outside of the person that we're going to talk to today. So why don't you go ahead and join me in welcoming Kaylan Martin to the podcast.
Hey.
Hey. How's it going, girl?
It's going well.
Good.
It's going well. No complaints.
Excellent. Well, I am thrilled for this conversation for a lot of different reasons. Number one, you all don't know this yet, but Kaylan is one of the funniest people that I know, like naturally. Two is we became acquainted through our Goldman Sachs small business, 10K small business program. And so it's been wonderful to get to know you. But also, I pay so much attention to how you are and are not visible. And I'm pretty excited about chatting with you about that today.
Yes.
Okay, so I know a few things about you. I know that the spaces that you're in are hugely dedicated to helping organizations scale their impact. Right. And I know that a lot of the work that you do technically is visible work, but for other people. It's not like you're always at the forefront of it, but you're at the forefront of making sure that the people that you serve get the visibility they need to get the resources they need to do the work. Right. Let me just give you a question right out the gate with that in mind. Is this what you thought you'd be doing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And I know that the audience is probably like, well, what does she do? And what's the company and all this? We get to that a little bit later.
Right.
I just want to know out the gate, what did you think you'd be doing?
So I wanted to be a school teacher at one point. I wanted to be a social worker. I was a foster care case manager at one point. But funny story, when I was a little girl, I would sit at the table and like have imaginary conversations with like companies or organizations about like mergers. Like, I don't know what I was watching on TV, but I definitely felt like I was supposed to be like I would carry like a little briefcase.
You were about business.
Yes, exactly. So I think about that often now in the position that I'm in because I talk a lot and I have a lot of meetings and do all those things. So yeah, definitely didn't envision that when I was going through and matriculating through college. But, when I look back, I'm like, it was kind of always in me.
It's crazy when you say you knew you would be doing something or you thought you were supposed to be doing something in business. I'm not sure if you watched the episode with Derek Simpson, of course.
Yes, I have.
That's something that he said. He said he didn't know what he was supposed to be doing, but he knew it was going to be like doing something important.
Yes, right? Exactly.
A school teacher, though.
Yes.
Where'd that come from? Was it just like helping people?
Well, I love the chalkboard.
Okay.
And it was that simple. I love the chalkboard. I love talking. History is one of my passions too. So I like talking about history. But yeah, I got certified in everything. I was a substitute teacher. Right after college. Yep, all of that.
Okay. The one thing I do know about your background is your dedication to a particular type of space. Right? If I look back over the visibility and the stops that you've made in your career, the ones that have made the public appearance, right? We've all worked at jobs that are like, McDonald's or whatever. Like those don't make it to LinkedIn, right?
No.
But in terms of the public places that you've made stops at, I mean, of course, you stopped at DC College Access. That's one of the places that I wouldn't say that started your career, but started your professional, visibility. Of course, you made a pretty substantial stop at NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists.
Yeah.
And of course, NSBE, right?
Yeah.
And Blue Umbrella Strategies, which we'll talk about in just a second. And so these spaces have a lot in common in terms of needing support to do the important work that they do.
Right.
Right. And so why have you chosen to put your flag in the sand in terms of like, hey, these types of organizations are important for me to do work with?
Right. Well, for me, philanthropy is all about values, culture, and beliefs. And a lot of times they maintain resources for those organizations that align with their values, culture, and beliefs. And so organizations that are doing the best work sometimes, that are community led and are having the most significant impact, don't get the opportunity to connect with large scale foundations or philanthropy. And so for me, it's been a big passion knowing like who actually in the community is preserving our best interests, that they get resourced and funded at the same rate as some of the other more widely known organizations that may or may not be doing the same substantive work, having a meaningful impact on our day-to-day lives. So that's why, I've made it a focus to work with those organizations that need it most.
It's probably the perfect time for you to tell our audience about Blue Umbrella Strategies.
Yes.
Right? Why did that start? And what's the overall focus of that organization for you?
So it started because I got laid off. It started because I had kids to feed.
Yeah. Which you have twins. We were talking about that a short while ago. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a whole family. And I would always get asked to help with side projects and gigs and things like that. So it could be special events, or can you help me write this grant? All those types of things. And so for that reason, when I wasn't employed, I said, well, this is the perfect time to try to figure out how I can, support people on a freelance basis. But the organization is essentially to help bridge the gap between change makers and the resources that they need. And that can happen in a lot of different ways. I didn't want it used to be just fundraising, but then it evolved to also helping with strategy, also helping with, positioning and visibility. And so that's why it evolved into strategies. But yeah, just helping lean organizations get the muscle that they need to scale.
Yeah, and do important work. Oftentimes that's oftentimes in spaces that aren't hugely represented, right? Which I think is so important because you need funding. Without funding, how do you keep things going? Let's dig into visibility a little bit more, because in my exploration on you, research sounds a little stalky, right? But in my exploration on you, and even before the exploration, because our worlds intersected during Goldman Sachs, you are visible very strategically and very leanly for reasons that I think I know and reasons that hopefully I'll find out a little bit more about today. And so I'm really curious about aligned visibility. Okay, so as a reminder, here on the Just Start podcast, we are all focused on helping people get visible in a way that feels right for them. And I have a commitment to making sure that people have examples of what visibility could look like. Because when I say visibility, somebody who's very, very public, right? I'm on lots of stages, et cetera. People think, oh, she's saying that you have to be on stages and making sure that you're, doing keynotes. I'm not saying that. Visibility can mean what it needs to be for you, right? And so when I say aligned visibility, what does that mean to you personally, and how do you define that for yourself personally?
I feel like it's embodiment. And oftentimes I am working with folks that are trying to get visibility for themselves, like their brand or their organization. They want to advertise a new project or initiative and things like that. So for me, I just want to know who I am so that when I'm in a room, people trust me and feel confident that they're going to be in the hands of someone who can get that voice over. So a lot of times the visibility for me is really just embodiment. And honestly, I didn't know who I was because so often I was working through organizations. You kind of take on other people's voice or personas, when you're in that type of work. So I feel like I'm getting back to who I am. And, trying to figure out what that brand actually means. But access is another big thing that I'm very keen on. Not necessarily giving access to everything that I do or think or say, just because, it's still developing and evolving. So I hold some of those things close to my vest.
Yeah. You know what's so fascinating from what you just said is how many times people like you who are often working in service of someone else could lose themselves in terms of who you think you are, not who you are being as a result of representing another organization.
Right.
Right. And I was telling you previously before we got started, Mark, my husband, was on the podcast a couple months ago, and I loved it. One, because he's my favorite human.
I need to see that episode.
I'm telling you, it was really good. Troy, wasn't it really good? It was a good one, right? But one of the reasons why I enjoy that episode so much is because I saw firsthand how people treated Mark when he no longer had a formal job.
Yes, that part too.
Because people attach so much of your worth to your job.
Yes.
Now, luckily, Mark treated his job as a job. He kept his pockets of joy, friends, he has lots of pockets of community and joy. So he did good with creating that for himself. However, we can get so lost in connecting our identity to our careers in ways where if it goes away, you're like, oh, like, who am I?
Right.
So what I think I hear you saying is that you're on a bit of a journey of redefining and rediscovering like who you are. Is that fair to say?
That is.
Okay.
Even as much as the language goes, it is so much jargon and terminology within the nonprofit industry that sometimes it's like, that's not how I would describe my community. You know what I mean? That's not something that I think is an issue. So sometimes people from the outside in want you to talk about the community and the complexities of it, challenges and opportunities, as if, they're describing it. So a lot of the work I do now is translation, taking what the community is saying in their voice and then translating it for the philanthropy and vice versa. Because what we shouldn't have to do is actually change it. I just want you to be able to understand it. And that's the exact same thing that I'm doing in my own life.
Yeah. Do you think that you've arrived at a place where you're like, hey, one of my absolute core values is X?
Ooh. Joy.
Oh.
Yeah, joy is an absolute value. If I can't do it joyfully, I'm not going to do it. Period. Hard stop.
I feel silly asking you why, because like joy is incredible, but perhaps I'll ask it to you through the next question, which is all about when your visibility didn't feel aligned. And so I'm curious about, was there a time when your visibility didn't feel aligned? Were there signs that there was misalignment? And how did you course correct? And maybe it was through the discernment, or maybe it was through the decision of joy. I will have joy.
Right.
So how did you course correct?
So my whole 30s, I feel like, was not aligned.
Not the whole 30s.
All
10 years?
All of them. But definitely my 30s. I feel like I was getting to a place in my career I was very excited about and very proud about. I had a home, I was married, I had the kids, like everything that I was working towards, I had that. But when I arrived, I realized that there wasn't any joy. And that some of the things that I was doing was because I was told I was supposed to do. So, okay, you're supposed to have cookies when the kids come home. You're supposed to.
Who told you that? Who told you that? Cookies? I mean, wait, this is coming from a non-mom.
I should have had a healthy snack, see?
Oh, okay.
But, you're doing what you're supposed to do, or what people have told you, this is what success looks like, this is what right looks like, this is what, matriculating the right way. And I realized that I wanted to grow my business, but not in the way that it grew me. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to be able to inspire and grow organizations. I didn't necessarily need to be a $45 million company, right? I didn't want to actually work 40 hours a day. But that was what I felt I had to do. So I would say a good turning point was when my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019. That was definitely a turning point for me because I realized how short life is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that brought humanity back to me to say, okay, how am I living this life, first of all? and how am I living it for me? And also, is this a representation of the woman that I would want my girls to be? Or, you know, just in general, like I want to be proud about the life that I live.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I went on a whole journey to like find myself, and to shed away those things that no longer served me.
Yeah.
Which I know sounds super cliche. My stuff is not pretty and linear by any means, but it's definitely appreciated. I'm glad I started.
Yeah. And I wouldn't take it as cliche. I mean, do you know how many people I talk to who are just like, oh man, I need to pause for a second.
Yes.
And really find out, what does happiness mean for me? What does joy mean for me?
Right.
And even so many other people that are entrepreneurs that I talk to who are just like, look, I want my business to be successful. I want to be successful. But that doesn't look like what X is doing.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I want to do what's necessary to be a $20 million company.
Exactly.
You know, like and it's not I don't want to be a $20 million company. It's that I'm not willing to do what's necessary. Like people are willing to say
the standard way.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because success looks different. Like we even know people who've sold their business and it has looked way different than what we've been told it looks like.
Exactly.
Right? And so what does it look like for you?
Yeah.
The reason I ask you about the value piece is because I do firmly believe that values are an underutilized opportunity for us to right side what we're doing, you know? And so last year for lots of business owners was a hard year financially.
Yes.
And one of the ways that I was able to truly decide how do I feel about how I'm doing was to benchmark against values, right? And I'm able to every day right now, freedom, love, making a difference, reciprocity, security.
That.
That's my 5 core values, y'all, okay?
Yes.
And to give myself a bit of a grade or score or check mark along the lines of, am I doing something today that puts points on the board in my 5 core value categories?
Right.
The numbers are the numbers. You know, the revenue is this, the expenses are this. I'm gonna work hard at that. But how do I feel in terms of how it benchmarks against my values?
Absolutely.
And honestly, that helps so much for me to make sure that I'm not just doing stuff just to do it. Like I'm doing stuff that I say is important to me based on my values.
Right.
And so for the rest of this month, I mean, for the rest of our podcast episodes, we're going to be talking about that quite a bit. And are we really taking a look at our values or are we just doing stuff just because somebody else told us that we should be doing it?
That's right.
You know, so I love that for you. And I want to hear the rest of the values. Another thing I discovered about you, right? And I knew this before the discovery mode, but I doubled down on knowing it, is how intentional or how visible you are or aren't, right? And I want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Because of course, you know, Kaylan got some social digital footprints, but not a lot, right? And not to say that the only way that you can be visible is through a digital footprint, but it's usually the way that lots of people can find out stuff about you.
Right.
And so I want to know, how do you decide what to share and to keep private while still being what you would define as authentic?
I will say that I do like to be visible, but just like in live experiences. And eventually I think that would entail, you know, community sharing and those types of things. But it's something that is very authentic, I guess I'll use the word, when you feel like you're not being recorded or it's not for something. So, you know, like when we grew up in the 90s and 2000s.
I didn't grow up to know. We are not aligned. We are not aligned.
Time be moving.
We're aligned.
But I feel like, you know, there's some memories that you have that just live in your mind.
Yes.
You know, and some of them I wish I had more photos or videos of or had some chronicling of. But at the same time, there's a freedom when it is just what it's supposed to be. You know, and then I work with a lot of organizations that are holding a lot of sensitive information. So, you know, every conversation that I have or conference that I facilitate, I can't always share that information openly. So that's another thing, you know. So some of these organizations are in very tight situations. there's board approvals, there's brands and things that I can't always publicize. But I do try to, at the same time, share some of the work that organizations are doing or some of the other entrepreneurs in the space, just to be like, I'm a resource if you all need me. But not so much of like, this is what I did with them. Yeah. And to me, we got to give some dignity back to the organization and the community, some integrity there, so that, because we're all growing, but it looks different and people have a different perception sometimes when it's Black and brown organizations. So I try to respect that and toe that line.
Listen, we are hitting on two areas here that I didn't know would hit this hard, because I feel very strongly about these two things.
Yeah.
One is personal and jokey. Let's hit it.
Yeah.
Okay. Back in the day partying, like, I'm so happy social media didn't exist.
Exactly.
Listen, we lived. And I feel so bad for these kids.
With our blazers and
wedge heels. Business professional in the club.
Getting our eagle on.
Listen. Okay, stiletto pumps in the club. Honestly, those just the days you're just like, oh my God, we have so much fun and we sweated our hair out. And there's no footage, right?
No footage.
Sorry, y'all. All right. That's number one. Get professional about it. I take so much issue when people are working on behalf of organizations, maybe even what may be defined as an underserved organization, right? And we're putting out footage and not being sensitive about the fact that these are humans and families on the other side of this. And maybe I feel so strongly about it because I was one of those families that would have benefited from these types of services back in the day. And it's just like, no, like, I get that we need to prove that we are moving the needle and doing things and our programming is successful. But are we being thoughtful about the imagery that we're taking and the people's lives that are being captured about this? Even if we have, NDAs, even if we have media release forms, there's still this level of, are you being thoughtful about these humans? And so I totally understand what you're saying there.
And not all of the credit goes to one person.
Right.
So I tell people that all the time about fundraising or marketing and communications. Like, the organization had to do the work. Like, I facilitated and I provided strategies and concepts and worked alongside them. But that success is theirs. You know what I mean? So even when I hear fundraisers say, oh, I raised like $1 bajillion, I'm like, that was in concert with a lot of other folks,
right?
And so, yes, you should take credit for the dollars and the revenue, because that's how we, benchmark what we've done. And at the same time, let's be very honest that some of those connections or doors that were open weren't through you.
Right. And they were already open a little bit.
They was already, you just kind of
kicked the door in.
And that's what we do. But at the same time, let's not take credit away from the organization or the people that are in there every day doing the work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. I am super curious about being grounded, right? And the practices to stay grounded. Because the thing that you said earlier that I truly do believe is a challenge for people who are, successful at an organization, who've taken on the identity of that organization.
Yes.
Is that when they decide they want to start something new or transition to something else, like, there's a lot of inner struggle of who am I?
Yes.
And there may be even a desire to not take a step because it's like, ooh, but then I lose my identity.
Yes.
And so I understand when people come to me and say, hey, Jacqueline, can you help me get started? The hesitation isn't even necessarily the starting of the thing as much as it is, what am I going to lose? Like, am I going to lose my identity? And it's like, sometimes you are, and that's okay, right?
Yes.
So it makes me think about like grounding practices. So what practices or habits have helped you to stay grounded in your voice instead of getting pulled into trends and expectations?
Yes.
And let me give this a little bit more color to that question. Every time I'm around you, you are exactly the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not somebody who's like anti-code switch, because I do think you need to be respectful of environments that you're in.
Yeah.
But you are literally like the exact same person every time I'm around you. And I think whether intentionally or by accident, I think there's some level of grounding that's required to do that, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like, how do you do you have practices or habits? Like, how do you manage that for yourself?
Whew. So it was so much.
I know.
That was like so excited. No, that's a really good question, because I want to talk about a little bit about the identity connected to the organization.
Okay.
When I started out like on my own, more so doing, the same fundraising I had already been doing, it was like without the organization, sometimes people wouldn't answer the phone or return an email. I'm like, we just worked together for 2-3 years.
And we still doing good work.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And so that was a little bit of a blow, because you have to realize that, okay, sometimes people are expedient. They want to be connected to you because of who you're connected with.
Yes.
And at the same time, it's like, okay, but I'm doing it for the work. And so I had to sometimes just get myself back focused on what my actual goal is. And one of those things that keep me grounded is everything shouldn't have a goal. Everything shouldn't have a measurement or a metric. I got so consumed with like, okay, well, 3 people didn't call back. I said I was going to have this ratio, because some of the things get kind of scientific.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this works for this creates that, and you get in that groove. But I had to start doing things without a goal or a metric associated, and that helped me try new things. I had a therapist that talked about the 4 windows of the soul. One of my favorite concepts. They say the first window is how everybody knows you. Second window is how people at home know you. Third window is how only you know yourself. So your shadows, the things you want to do and haven't. And then the 4th window is the one nobody knows. So that only gets unlocked through spiritual awakening, education, trying new things, new experiences. And so I focus a lot on the 4th window. Like, I want to learn me more. And so last year I started swimming. I can swim not to drown, right? Yeah. But that stopped me from swimming because I'm like, I don't look good doing it. Like, but I just wanted to be in the water. I started doing yoga with like very stressed, intense body. I'm like, I'm not going to do well at this. But the goal wasn't to be good at it. The goal was just to do it.
Yeah.
Like to express myself in a way that I hadn't before. I tried pottery. Like, I take walks, and instead of being like, oh, shoot, I got 4 more miles, I'm like, I'm just wandering today. Like, I want to look at the blue jays. I want to see a cardinal today. I want to look up and see the tops of the trees. I want to take in some air, so that has helped me stay grounded, is to take the pressure out of the metrics, the measurements, the goals, and what everybody else is doing. So another thing about the visibility aspect, I would say too, is just realizing that I don't always have to look at what everybody else is doing, because that would consume me too. Yeah. Like, okay, girl, you getting up there. Like, at this point, you're supposed to have $4 million for retirement.
Right.
And so that was also really frustrating for me. So taking a step back too, to just be visible to myself, helped me align like what is important and what are the things that I would deem as successful, whether I can measure it in numbers and dollars or whatever, or if it's just a feeling.
Yeah. The reason why I love that approach so much is because it takes the pressure off of starting something.
Yes.
Right. Or experiencing something.
Yep.
Because, you can learn how to swim, but ain't nobody saying you got to swim 26 miles every day, right?
Yes.
But so it's like sometimes we start things and then put these measurements on them that were never realistic to begin with.
Right.
But you didn't know it wasn't realistic because you never even did it before, right?
Exactly.
And I definitely am someone who falls prey to like starting stuff and then creating goals around it that are just like, I've got to do this. And it's like, girl, just go play tennis.
Yeah.
Right. And it's okay if you're bad at it. Right.
Right. At first, it takes some getting used to doing that. Because I looked at my watch when I was swimming. I was like, breaststroke the whole time. I was like, I thought I was doing. And then so now I'm online like, so I was doing that the whole time? Like, why was it registering like that? And, it really just, you have to take a deep breath and be like, okay. You had fun. You feel great.
You moved your body.
Yes.
Listen, we were talking about this before we got started. Yesterday was
dance horribly too.
I
love to dance. And
no, there's no way you dance horribly.
It depends. Sometimes I get a little gross.
According to who? Who's telling you this?
The mirror. Like, caught myself like, oh shoot, I don't think that's how it's supposed to look.
I don't believe
Keep
this.
going.
I don't believe it. Record yourself dancing and let me assess.
Okay. All right, I
I'm not gonna dance a video for you. I'm gonna be like, what is she doing?
like, that's not the hammer time. But
I don't know what that is. I was telling you before we start recording, yesterday was my first day taking the 2.0 for Pilates. All right. And for those of you who practice Pilates, okay, especially at Club Pilates, which is where I go, there's 1.5, there's 1.5, and 2. And yesterday was hard. It was a hard course. But what's so interesting, even after just listening to or just being here in our dialogue, I was so pressed about if I was doing it good. And even after class, I asked the instructor, like, hey, you know, did I look a mess? And she's just like, you know, she didn't say whatever, but I sort of kind of got the girl, you was in here, right? You qualified to be in here. But there was this pressure that I had in my mind around doing good on the first class of 2.0, when 2.0 is hard to even, you know, right. And so instead of me like just focusing more on is my form good? I think I'm probably focusing more on, does the instructor think I looked a mess kind of thing? And so there's this unnecessary rating that we give ourselves, which will stop some people from even starting it all together.
Exactly. That mirror in the yoga class, I try to stand to the side of it, and then you find yourself looking at everybody else and you're like, okay, hold on, let me put my arms out a little wider.
You know what? I just realized this studio that I go to, they just moved to a different space, and I enjoyed it more before they put the mirrors up.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I did. I was just, because it just felt like good. Yeah. And that's probably why I enjoy private so much. Yes. Like I have a private instructor, and so it's just me and her. I'm not looking to see what they're doing. Am I, you know,
how her stuff look in her pants.
Right. Run your own race. Run your own race. I want to know about your confidence. It's a heavy question incoming.
Okay.
Your confidence, your connection, your opportunities. And I'm curious about how has showing up in a way that feels true to you, has that impacted your confidence, right? Like has that made any type of impact on your overall confidence?
Initially, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because I tethered my worth and my success to how other people perceived it.
You used to.
Yes, okay. Absolutely, because you were looking for that. I was looking for that validation. Okay, so I needed that external like approval to know, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm doing things the right way. But then when you get to a point where you're like, they don't know any better than you do.
Right.
You know, so when that mask comes off, it is a little bit of a relief to say, I can make this what I need it to be, because I know what best serves, you know, the particular constituency that I'm trying to address. I tell organizations all the time too, because they're also benchmarking based on other things, right? Or other organizations, that everyone has started from the same place. You know, some organizations might have been endowed or they got some kind of gift to get started, but 90% of organizations all started from zero. So what did they do differently? You can study that, or you can say, what will I do so that I can carve and be differentiated in a very crowded space?
Yeah.
You know, and so authenticity, a lot of times, is that determining factor on how some organizations are perceived and how others are transforming. So that's what has helped to spark my confidence in terms of not looking at what everyone else is doing to determine what I'll do next. Yeah. I love like visioning and being able to be innovative. So a clear space is power, you know?
Yeah. One thing that I have observed you doing well, and I would imagine that you probably do well because it made it into your LinkedIn profile, okay, is storytelling.
Yes.
Right? And I think storytelling is an underrated skill, first of all, but it's also a skill that does require practice, right? And it requires you to have a certain level of confidence in it, right, and experience in it. Has storytelling always been something that you've been confident either doing or advising other organizations to do?
Mm-hmm.
Or did you have to build a muscle for that?
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say build a muscle.
Okay.
But it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about integrity and dignity for an organization. So back in like 20 years ago when I first started fundraising.
Not 20 years ago.
You would tell the worst story. Like that was like very popular, was to say, little Johnny hasn't eaten in 6 weeks. Like, are you going to feed Johnny? Because if not, Johnny ain't going to eat.
I'm sure it wasn't 6 weeks. It wasn't 6 weeks, Kaylan. You wouldn't have made it.
You wouldn't have made it? That's true. But they tried to tell the worst stories to get attention.
So were the commercials.
Or connection. Yeah,
the commercials were the same
with
way.
The flies landing on everybody.
I wasn't gonna make the visual.
Yes, all of that. And so a big part of the storytelling came from, this is not the story we're going to tell, because that actually isn't accurate. And like I was saying too, organizations are very much so a part of their success. I would see it oftentimes in education. A lot of organizations would focus on a child and not focus on their parents or other things in their network. So it was like, these kids have parents and their parents are active in their lives. Like, why are we pretending like everyone is disconnected from a source or a family and it's just this program that touches them for 45 minutes in the afternoon?
And it's changing everything.
It's changing everything. Let's tell them how we're actually connected to a broader, community. One of the projects that I'm most proud of is this one called Tandem Med. And that's why one of the reasons I know so much about Detroit.
You hear that, friends? Did you hear that?
What up, though? 313.
Hey.
But they had programs in Newark, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, New Orleans. And, the idea was for the community to tell their own story. Yeah. So how can we learn from each other by sharing our true, authentic narratives? And yes, there are some challenges that our communities face, but they're never faced in a way that can't be resolved or overcome. That's our whole legacy a lot of time in these communities. And so bringing that asset-based kind of voice and not the deficit was one of the things that was so important to me. I don't want to raise money because everybody is sad. Like they would say, okay, well, Jacqueline is the exception. She's actually the rule. Yeah. She got it from somewhere.
Right.
Like the tenacity, the ambition, the girth. That's something that you didn't teach her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I love this so much because almost in every aspect of situations that I was let flow through my mind as you were talking, it's true, right? Self-made billionaires,
no.
Self-made millionaires, like there were some people around that helped you. Any of your favorite artists, somebody had a sound engineer in the booth. Somebody had somebody that was editing stuff. Like you need different inputs.
Small church,
right? Exactly. Yeah. And I think about that even as we talk about the Just Start community, because when you decide to start something, some people decide to go out on their own and just be by themselves. And it's like, whoa, like you actually need community.
Yeah.
Like, and community can look different for you, for me, for whatever. But this whole, let me just go by myself and figure it out, like that doesn't work. Right. It might work for like a couple months as you're deep trying to get your decisions made about whatever it's going to be. But you need people.
You need
people. It does make me want to ask you a question that I generally ask everyone. And I wasn't going to ask you, but we here. And it's about community. How do you cultivate, curate, sustain community for yourself? And I mean holistically. I don't mean just Kaylan the professional. I mean Kaylan the mom.
Right.
Kaylan the cousin, right? Because I'm sure you got some cousins,
right?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Like, how do you do that in the midst of anything that you may have going on in your life?
Right. So you have to prioritize it. And one of the things that I learned was not saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's about joy and all that kind of thing too. But then like sometimes you actually have to seek it.
Yeah.
So I think also when you find yourself and you're on that journey, you realize how many things you were doing because you just did it. And you might not even realize when it started, but it was like, okay, I am into this, but not at this level. Like I want to seek out other things. So one of the things I did to learn more, because I moved from Maryland, where I grew up, to DC, and my neighbors are really dope. Like, they're all older, and they call me daughter and everything. They look out.
Nice.
It's like a quintessential neighborhood. Like, I absolutely love it. So I felt really nested there. But then I wasn't actually, in community at large. My kids weren't. Like, they would go to school and just come home. And one of the things that I was like adamant about is like, I don't want to just party. Like, I could do networking every day in the field that I'm in, right? So I could party, I could network, but I wanted to actually like feel embraced and vice versa. So I got a part-time job at a little boutique in Anacostia, and I worked there for about 2 years, and I got to meet some really cool people that I still talk to. The DC Public Library, started doing more work with them, and doing the community events with them. Sometimes it's volunteering. I normally have a pro bono client twice a year, just to get entrenched. Like, I want to learn more about Baltimore. I want to learn more about DC. So I, take on projects that with organizations that can't even afford to pay sometimes, just to see like, okay, what is really the word on the street? And how can I be a resource just at large? So I love that. And when people send me information about something, I'll at least respond and say, okay, I'm going to see if I can at least show my face.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes just poking out is something too, to be a part of that community and know how the life is still happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeking community is so important.
Yes.
Because at some point, for some reason, we stop making friends.
Yes.
It's the same thing with education. I was teaching a class yesterday morning, and I was talking about how important my learning hour is. So every week I have a learning hour. It's an hour to just learn. And it's because I'm in a space of teaching other people how to be better leaders and how to embrace etiquette, right? But if I'm not learning like the new stuff, the new approaches, then I'm teaching them stuff from 3, 5, 10 years ago. So I have a dedicated learning hour. But I was sharing like how I was encouraging them to use that analogy to build their muscle to continue to learn, because we have all this primary and secondary education, and then we get out of this habit of learning. It's just like, oh no, I learned enough, I got my degrees. And it's like, no, you gotta keep learning. It's the same thing with friendships or relationships. We just sometimes just stop, like, oh, I got enough friends, or I have enough whatever, until you realize the life that you've created has opened up pockets for you where you don't have people in those spaces. So one of my closest friends, she was telling me something about her kid, and I was, empathizing. That's my homegirl, but I'm like, yo, do you have any mom friends? I don't have any kids.
Right.
So I'm only going to give you as much as I can give you.
Right.
And so creating communities that actually align with the things that you want to do, or the spaces that you just want to show up, are so important. And then I'll say this, I've adopted this saying, I don't know who made it up, and I get to figure it out because I've been saying it a lot and it's not mine. Like, if you want to have a village, you got to be a villager. Like, you've got to, you can't just be like, I need help. Like, are you showing up and creating community allows you to have a space as a villager and within this village overall.
It's some Bible scripture too that I think says, if you want a friend, show yourself friendly. Just very simple. But we don't, we stay to ourselves. Having kids, I was doing all the kid things. So all my friends were married and had kids. But then when my kids got older, and I'm no longer married, now it was like, okay, where I go? Like, am I still just gonna sit up front the swings?
They ain't even on the swings no more.
Right? They're not on the swings.
Like,
they're driving.
Who's this creep here at the swings?
They're driving now. So yeah, all of that.
Yeah, creating community. Like that super riff that we had there, that was mostly me being random, really is rooted in get out and create community. Like, get out and find people that are interested in the things that you're interested in, or that just stretch you. They're just like, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. I've had this practice for years of just trying a new sport every year. Just try a new sport. I may not continue it. It may not be something that I love, but Number one, I learned like, oh, okay, that's how this works. Oh, your body does or doesn't like that. And you meet a lot of just interesting people.
Yeah.
And so just stretching yourself is important. Yeah.
But they say that's why in Black and brown communities too, health-wise, we stop being as healthy because we always played group sports growing up.
Right.
And so we don't have any level of personal fitness a lot of times. So just building that community, if that helps you actually get healthy again, is also important.
Yeah. Mark and I talk about that a lot. Me and my husband and I talk about that quite a bit. I be saying Mark and I talk about this like everybody knows who Mark is. Like, he's
we
Mr. Baker. We talk about that, how like us growing up, movement in my community was all sport based.
Yep.
And hugely, honestly, male based. Like when I grew up, there was no focus on me being in sports as a kid. It was just more like, oh, your brother gonna play PAL football or whatever else. But there was never any, hey, Jacqueline, do you want to do whatever?
Right.
For lots of reasons, for resource reasons, like, you know, I'm not knocking any of the decisions made back then, maybe a little bit. But like, but it just wasn't, you know, like, oh, you move because your body needs to move.
Yes.
That's not what it was.
Yeah.
So I understand how this happens. I really want to know some advice from you. Okay. Because with all of the talking and examples that we've given, there are so many people that come to the Just Start community that still struggle with visibility because they try to equate it to what it looks like for somebody else. Right. And so I am always looking to put as many recommendations, points on the board, catalog options in front of people so that they can say, you know what, maybe visibility can look like that for me, or maybe I can go on this journey to figure out what it looks like for me so that I can be in spaces that I enjoy, right? And I've just become so committed to helping people get visible in this way because there are genius people that you and I know. Yeah. And no one will ever know their good work or their impact because people don't know they exist. Right. They don't know how to get visible. So for somebody who might be struggling to be visible because it feels uncomfortable or inauthentic, just what's one simple way that they can start showing up in alignment as early as tomorrow?
Right. I will say definitely power versus force. So that's one of my favorite concepts. If you force it, it's not going to be sustainable, right? You're like trying to go against the grain. You're pushing up against something. If it's power, like your power and just powerful, think about someone entering the room. We are in spaces like that all the time. You can tell who's the most powerful in the room normally like that. They move at their own pace. There's no urgency. There's no rush. There's no, it's not a lot of conversation. It's not a lot of talking. It's literally, I'm here because I chose to be. And I leave when I choose, you know, so you can take that power and move like you want to. Take the pressure off of like having to be and look and do a certain thing a certain way. People will then be attracted to that and want to see you more often and start encouraging you to come out or inviting you here or to do different things because you exude that power. And again, it doesn't have to be, you know, because of money spent or any of those things. You can do it right now where you are. Just take your power back and move how you want to move. Yeah, and everyone has a tribe too. I think that's something else that I've learned along this journey is that there's going to be people that are going to rock with you in your authentic self. And that is going to help grow your visibility too, because now we're a community versus, you know, trying to always fit in or go somewhere where you don't feel connected. So don't force it, you know, move with power.
I tell people that all the time that ask me, how is DC? Particularly, you know, particularly people from home.
What's your 5-year plan? Like everybody want another plan.
Whatever I make it to be. But even more so, like, how is DC? And the thing that I always say to them is, whatever you're into here, you will find somebody into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is a group for everything. Like, if you are a photographer who specializes in kitty photos and tuxedos, it's a tribe here. Like,
Yeah,
I just find
true.
that there are so many pockets of different kind of people here, and partly because it's DC, it's a melting pot. Like, people come from, it's transient. Yeah. And there is like a community for everything.
That's right.
But also, if we think about just the digital world that we're in, there's so much that you now have much more access to, because you could find that community for somebody in Melbourne, Australia, right? You in Seattle. I'm like, in Antarctica, there's somebody who's Penguin Lovers of America, and y'all can get on Zoom, right? Talk about penguins. But it does take effort in you looking for them, right? And believing that you deserve to be visible and connected with people that bring you joy, inspire you, and keep you going.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Listen, Kaylan, it's been wonderful chatting with you.
And
I want to say thank you, because I know the work that you do, but I think it's people like you who quietly power the engines of organizations, right? Through storytelling, through scaling, and who are very intentional about the work that they do. And so if nobody's told you lately, thank you for the work you do. Thank you for being visible in a way that feels right for you, because it's the perfect example to our audience of how you could do really good work. And everybody ain't got to know everything about you. It's just not necessary, right? So thank you for the work that you do. And I don't know, maybe in a few years or so, maybe you'll join me back here for another conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you too.
Listen. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Just Start Get Visible. It has been a wonderful time spending with Kaylan here, and continuing in a bit of the tradition of inviting more people from our Goldman Sachs Small Business 10K program. Wherever you're at in the world, I hope that you're safe, I hope that you're healthy, and I hope that you're well. And I certainly hope that you're giving yourself permission to just start and get visible in a way that feels right for you. For the rest of the month, we're going to talk about visibility that's truly aligned, because I challenge you all the time to truly just start and get visible. But if it doesn't feel aligned, it may not feel like it's for you. So you know what the challenge is. Get out there, just start and get visible. I'll see you again soon. Ciao.